Tara Carr with Tara Talks for KDIV 98.7 FM. I'm here with Ronetta Francis, the founder of Francis Dynamics Group, Consulting Group and former VP of U.S. Ethics and Employment Compliance for Walmart stores. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Tara.
Great.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So we are here to discuss the bestseller, Champions Never Tell. Mm-hmm. And this is a new book that exposes the gray areas of illegal workplace harassment. Mm-hmm. So just tell me a little bit about Champions Never Tell.
Thank you, Tara. The book came about as an opportunity to showcase for people in the workplace who may be going through difficult times. Mm-hmm. The subtitle of it is Sisters Surviving Storms in the Workplace.
Love that.
The thing about it is so many times is women in particular are climbing the corporate ladder, advancing through their careers. They experience bumps along the way. They experience difficult situations, hostile, toxic situations. Yeah. Outright discrimination and harassment. Mm-hmm. And what we found more often than not is a lot of women just don't say anything about it. They keep these stories in, they keep these experiences in, they deal with them to the best that they can, and sometimes it has a detrimental impact on their physical, spiritual, emotional well-being, all in the sake of advancing their careers. Climbing the ladder. And what we've discovered as you get a little bit more further along in your career is that by exposing exactly what's happened and what's going on in the environment, it does a lot to remove the stigma associated with it. It removes the appearance or at least the feeling that someone is going through it alone.
Right.
You're not going through this situation alone. You're not the only ones who have experienced this. Others have done it. Others have gotten through it. And so this book is not just a recitation of horrible, bad experiences.
Sure.
It also highlights what are some of the solutions, what are some advice that people who have gone through the storms can share with others who are going through the storm.
I love that.
So that they can navigate it much more effectively, hopefully with much less detriment to themselves.
Okay. And so in the book, 7 women bravely share their stories.
Correct.
What made you decide to share your story?
So it was almost like a no-brainer for me when I was approached with the opportunity. My entire professional career has been focused on eliminating discrimination in the workplace, striving to create an environment of equal employment opportunity, both with the federal government and in the private sector as well. So by sharing my story and feeling as if someone could benefit from it, someone else could see themselves in my story, it was just a no-brainer. I was like, absolutely, I would do it. Absolutely, I would do it. And what I like about it, there's stories told at different times in each of the ladies' careers. My story is one that focuses on early on in my professional career. And there are others at mid-level and at very senior levels in their career. So it's not one that's just focused solely on the ones who've made, the C-suites and all of that and what they're going through. But as you're advancing through your career, you're liable to face situations that could be a blocker, that could cause you to drop out of that particular talent pipeline for that particular organization, and we're hoping to curtail that.
Love that. So tell me about your experience with sexual harassment training prevention or prevention training in the corporate sector.
Certainly. So for 23 years I've been an employment attorney. And
so you started when you were 2.
I started when I was 2. No, but when I started with the federal government with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, I started providing sexual harassment prevention training to companies at that point, smaller, larger, depending on what the situation was, usually after a company has gotten into trouble.
Of course.
That's when the EEOC was going in. And we were doing a little bit of proactive training, but mostly it was in remediation for some issues that had taken place. Unfortunately. But the fortunate part was that they were engaging in that training and providing that awareness to their employees so as to prevent that type of behavior from reoccurring. For the last 10 years, I've been with Walmart and provided training internally as it relates to preventing sexual harassment in the workplace, engaged in some very significant sexual harassment prevention awareness campaigns that had the impact of touching 1.4 million people in the company, in the company across the country. So it's a significant reach.
Yeah.
So, and now with my consulting firm, I'm taking on additional corporate clients to continue that effort of providing training, not just so that folks understand what the law is, but what is it that they can do in relation to their existing policies and procedures, how to recognize and appreciate and create an environment that is conducive to the prevention of sexual harassment.
Yeah. So we've seen recently, it seems like every day,
Yes.
celebrities now being exposed for sexual harassment or assault and things that have happened in the past.
Correct.
That's coming to light now. I mean, obviously starting with Bill Cosby was a big one, especially for the African American community, to lose that person that was a father figure for many.
Yes.
Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey, now Matt Lauer, and many others, countless others.
Many others.
What are your thoughts on this trend?
Well, one thing I can say is this, the day of reckoning for engaging in this kind of behavior is nigh. And you would be hard pressed to think that, something that I did in my past or behind closed doors won't come to light, because it eventually will.
Obviously.
But what is the common thread across all of these individuals that has come to light is that imbalance of power within their industry. So all of the people that you mentioned, these high profile producers,
women trying to make it in the industry.
Women trying to make it in the industry. And when you have that imbalance of power within a particular relationship or encounter, there's a high likelihood that someone's going to abuse that power.
Right.
Particularly if there's no accountability. There's no one holding someone responsible for how they're exercising that power.
And the culture just says it's okay. Everyone.
The culture says it's okay. You know what's interesting is, as a lot of these stories are coming to light, what you also hear is that, we've known about this for a while.
Right.
Well, everyone knows that, Bill Cosby was like this, or Harvey Weinstein did this, or that Matt Lauer engaged
people in the industry just knew,
in the industry
and now
knew,
it's exposed to the public.
And it's exposed to the public, and now folks are like, so we shouldn't have been doing that? Or they shouldn't have been engaging in that behavior. They knew it was wrong.
Yeah.
But particularly in the entertainment industry, there was this like lackadaisical attitude as it relates to engaging in this type of behavior. The casting couch, is a known phenomenon for years and years and years, that was the way you needed to get ahead. Or people would say, I didn't know. This is what I'm hearing now. I didn't know that they didn't find it consensual. I didn't think that they thought. Right.
Yeah.
But when you really look at a situation and you're this powerful executive and you can hold someone's career
in your hands,
and you present someone with an opportunity to either advance their career or crush their career, and you think, I'm not sure that they knew that, they didn't say no, so I thought it was consensual.
Think about it like that.
Yeah, you have to think about consent in a completely different way.
Absolutely.
When you're having such an imbalance of power.
And so what are your thoughts on the MeToo hashtag now? That's something definitely we've seen as a trend. And why do you think women are now feeling open to speak up?
Well, I think once the door is open, which is why we have this book, Champions Never Tell. Once the door is open, it frees people up. It empowers them even more to say, it happened to me as well. Because this is not a unique phenomenon. What happened to the ladies in the entertainment industry and in Congress and all, it's happening in kitchens, in restaurants, it's happening in hotel rooms, it's happening in boardrooms and corporations. And so for people to be able to express Me Too, it creates such a bond that it removes the stigma. So there's no longer this silence. And when you find out other people who've been subjected, really, and it's things that people have held in for so long and wouldn't even admit to themselves that it had happened. And they just saw it as a course of, it's one of those things that just happens. But we don't have to do that. We don't have to tolerate it. We don't have to be silent anymore. And that's why this book, Champions Never Tell, is so timely, because it is encouraging people to speak up.
Yeah.
I
want to talk about a couple of key statistics. Nearly 80% of women who are bullied lose their jobs. Yeah. 2/3 of workers who complained about mistreatment were retaliated against. Right. More than 70% of those who experience sexual harassment at work don't tell a supervisor or superior about it. Do you think people know how common those are crazy statistics?
They're enormous statistics. Mm-hmm. They're earth-shattering. And the problem that it underlies is that the pervasiveness of harassment and discrimination in the workplace is outrageous. You cannot say you don't know what's happening, because it is happening. But what is failing the employees is what are the company's responses to the behavior and the culture that they're creating.
So what advice do you have for women who may face sexual harassment in the workplace?
My initial advice would be to find out if your workplace, if your company, organization has a policy or procedure that prohibits sexual harassment in the workplace, and follow the guidelines within that policy. Okay. That would be my first piece of advice. The second piece of advice is, if you don't feel comfortable reporting the behavior to your supervisor, because that's a lot of it that's going on. People fear retaliation, and you read the statistics as it relates to what actually happens to people who report harassment and discrimination in the workplace. So it takes a very brave soul to say, you know what, I'm going to put a stop to this. I'm going to speak up. And so it's not a decision to be entered into lightly. But I have to tell you that you don't have to subject yourself to harassment and discrimination in order to feed your family, in order to pay your bills, in order to take care of yourself. It's just not, that's not the way it's supposed to be. So we've got to put a stop to it. Absolutely. So following through with your company's policies and procedures, reporting the behavior to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which is the agency that's responsible for enforcing these. Yep. And if all push comes to shove and you're like, no one's going to do anything, nothing is going to happen, or I might be retaliated against, I would also say develop an exit strategy. Yeah. Develop an exit strategy. Yeah. If because it's not worth your physical, emotional, mental health to stay in an environment that's that toxic. There you go. Especially if you have a feeling that your reports are going to fall on deaf ears. Yeah.
And what can employers do, or even coworkers who kind of notice something? What can they do to make sure you're providing a safe working environment for everyone?
I think you have to be in tune with what's going on in your workplace. You have to be in tune with the culture that you've created. If folks have come and made reports, how did you respond? Yeah. Did you, and does it mean that every person that comes in, that their report is credible and valid and you're going to react, but at least take it seriously, investigate it. And if you find out that some wrongdoing has occurred, hold the people accountable and make it known that that's been happening, that it won't be tolerated in your workplace. That's the main thing.
And where can our listeners find this book, Champions Never Tell?
championsnevertell.com. We made it very easy and simple. We made it very easy and simple. Yes. So if you go to that website, you can order a copy of Champions Never Tell and find someone in the book that you can relate to. Identify some strategies if you're going through some challenging times in your workplace that have been helpful for us, and see if that will provide some type of relief to help you navigate through the storm.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Ronetta. I really appreciate you stopping by the studio.
Thank you.
And more information is available at championsnevertell.com. Go ahead and grab a copy of this book so you can hear all these great stories and maybe learn some great tools for yourself or someone you may know. This is Tara Carr for Tara Talks, KDIV 98.7 FM, the voice of the city, the voice of the community.